Okay, here's another example taken down. Perfectly good construction, just needed updating, and we're gonna put up some McMansion. There was an older lady that lived here for many years. She passed, and then the son passed, and then I think there's only the niece. She lives in another state, and then I guess there was some agreement to tear down the house to the developer that lives in the area. So it's kind of sad. But the house, I was inside the house before and needed updating, but very well made. You just can't find materials like this anymore. You can see all the brick. It's just a shame that people feel that they have to just tear everything down instead of renovating. And then houses that replace these 1950s homes is not nearly as good as these older homes. You have the timber that's not as good. All these new homes use all that new growth timber that's more permeable, and they also use a lot of OSB that when it gets wet it expands. So the houses of today are mostly built like crap because to use the same materials that they used in the 50s would make the house cost prohibitive, even for the, upper middle class, the top 5%. So it's just sad. It's pretty hot today, so I think they have to stop because they don't want the spontaneous combustion. I think it might even hit 90 today. So there's all the debris that they're collecting. Yesterday we drove past this house and they already had that piece of equipment right there. And people were taking stuff out of the garage, so at least maybe they're salvaging stuff. Because what strikes me as very funny is that the people that are talking about the planet and global warming and all this climate change and all this other BS, they're the very people that tear down these homes and waste all these materials and use more resources to put up garbage construction. So they're gonna start tearing into it again. Or maybe not. Maybe they'll just let it cool down some more. It's pretty windy today. It wasn't windy like this earlier. So I don't have time to watch them tear down the whole thing, but this is just a snippet. Hey, they fired up the maw. Such a waste. Just can't say it enough. What a waste. They'll probably have this torn down by the end of the day. But you can see all the brick. This is a solid brick house. It's even more of a shame that they would tear down a brick home. Just the quality of construction just blown in the dust. This is progress, I guess. Just so much of these newer homes are so sealed up so tightly that a lot of times they have mold issues. Especially if they're using all that OSB that gets exposed to moisture, and then it there's no way for it to dry out. Looks like that guy's smoking a cigarette. Probably not the best idea. Maybe I'm seeing wrong, I don't know, but I wouldn't be smoking a cigarette in that cab. Maybe gotta let it cool off. I don't know if it's air conditioned in those cabs or not, but if it isn't, that guy's got to be roasting. Oh, maybe he's stopping for the day. So you can see the back of the house. Almost looks like a dollhouse. Very picturesque lot, but I fear they're going to take those trees down. It's going to be ugly as hell. The thing to note is that you don't see particle board, OSB, anything that they use today. It's just wood, brick, mortar, probably a lot of plaster. They don't use plaster nowadays either. And what a shame, what a shame, what a shame. Just beautiful trees. All be torn down. Make some McMansion. Some hideous McMansion. So he's starting again. Almost makes you want to cry. Look at that. Just heartbreaking. The woman's probably rolling in her grave now. Probably the father, the son. Some kind of cord that it's snagging. It's sad. Disgusting. Yeah, I'm running out of time. So I'm not going to get this full thing. So that's all the laundry area, the kitchen. It was a very nice kitchen. So what they got first was the attached garage. So they had a beautiful window in the kitchen that you can see in the back. Got it on a photo. That's gonna be demolished any minute now. So here's what remains of the house up from the west side. You can still see the sunroom. So beautiful trees. Unfortunately, some are gonna have to come down. Wow. That was the sunroom. Incredible. There was a full basement in that house. All that wood, it's wood. It's not OSB. It's not new growth. It's solid wood. You can't find that anymore. That's what people don't realize. You no longer have the craftsmanship that you do today because people aren't trained like they were. My grandfather was a plasterer. They don't have plasters anymore. They got new ways of doing things. Sure. Staple guns. That's a new way that they do things, and it's really kind of prone to error. I just don't think that people have the pride anymore to construct quality unless it is a very small type of custom, maybe construction. I'm sure there is some quality out there, but it's not, especially not the mass-produced homes, probably. So I can't really say about local companies. I don't know. That's a lot of materials that you can't find anymore. Especially wood. That's wood. That you're hard pressed to pound a nail through. I wonder if they're going to leave the chimney up and do something else, or but then they did tear down the other chimney. Unfortunately, I wasn't here. That's a decent looking chimney. So that's the basement now. It's a lot cooler today than it was yesterday. Yesterday, I guess it got to 90. Today's a lot better. Though it's supposed to storm. So they probably want to get everything done. Before it starts raining. And that wood, it's many, 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 many years old. $80 old plus. New construction. We'll see if it lasts that long. And the cost of the new house that will go up. Who's going to be able to afford that except somebody from the coast? The 1%ers, 5%ers. the cost of materials are going to be so high, so then they'll have to cut corners and put even cheaper materials in. Especially with the Iran war that I don't think is going to end anytime soon. The house that will go up is probably going to be $1 million plus, at least. Because the houses that in this area are selling for at least 50% more than when I first moved here. At least 50% more, probably twice the amount in some cases. And new construction's going up for like 1.2 million plus, and those are homes that are already built. But now you have inflation, so 1.5 million, 2 million, jury's out. Dumpster's getting full. There we got a new dumpster coming. Dumpster bandit. Now we know how people get their dumpsters. and the other guy is excavating the sunroom. That was all walls of windows and sliders. I think the neighbor got some nice doors from there. And actually they had the entire kitchen for sale, so I hope that the person who bought the kitchen got everything they paid for. It included a Sub-Zero refrigerator, very nice cabinets. Again, a lot of the cabinets are made out of particle board and plywood. I think the old cabinets, they're just solid wood. And if you want solid wood cabinets nowadays, you're probably paying close to 6 figures, I would imagine. They're having custom cabinetry by the Amish. But I'm sure whatever house is built here, it's going to be sold for top dollar, and it's going to be 5%er moving in. So the guy is getting the full dumpster now. He's gonna have a full truck. The dumpster bandit strikes again. There it goes. I think the sunroom was built on a slab. So comment was, this will be good for our property, our home values, but I kind of said, well, it can be good and bad because of our high property values. It means we pay higher property taxes. I don't think people realize that. So maybe in our old age, we should just use our homes as cash registers, really. I mean, unless you're bequeathing it to a family member, but for those without family members, hey, kind of wondered about that. But then I kind of want the conservation easement, so I'm probably more towards giving the house to the sewer district or one of those, and then they tear it down and nothing is built there. That's kind of where I'm heading. But no, I'm not for real high property values, because it's just a double-edged sword. More for stable property values. But the property values in Northeast Ohio, it's just too much. They're going up too fast. They're driving people out. And people don't realize that. So people on the block are sad that the house is going, but then at the same time they're happy to have a grand home built for property values. So that's the sentiment. But I would not doubt if at least half the homes, if not most of the homes, are torn down in the next 20, 30 years, just for this reason, to build bigger homes. And then you never know what the government's going to do. If they're going to say, oh, we got to build more energy efficient homes, and then in their corruption they have interest in getting new construction so that they can make a pile of money and mandate that homeowners either retrofit their homes to make them more energy efficient, but then retrofitting is cost prohibitive, so then the people sell and then the houses get torn down. I could see it happening. Because I think the government is, in the U.S., is just as corrupt as some banana republic. It's just, I think, devolved to that. So it looks like he's starting to rip down more. And all I can say is that I'm glad I never had children. I think the kids today, they are having it harder. And I think they deserve to be mad. have the right to be mad, the right to be angry. There's other homes slated to be knocked down all over this area. And just think, we were all down in the basement during the estate sale. There's a lot of tools down there. There were electric, just powered, like carpentry stations, tool racks, massive tool storage systems, work tables, all in the basement. And it was nice. They had a lot of people got stuff. Look at that. You can see it's all. The destruction resumes. Just part of history going up in smoke. So we got the proponents of the new and the proponents of the old. They'll always be in conflict. But objectively, you're not going to get the construction. The quality does not match what is being torn down. That's just mathematics. That's just reality. Just scarce resources. You want a house made out of plastic now? Wood joined by glue. Wood particles joined by glue. Do you want a lot of vinyl? Floors made out of vinyl chloride. One of the most toxic compounds out there when it's subject to heat and flame. The so-called luxury flooring. That's what vinyl's made out of. Vinyl chloride. Do you want just brick facing or solid brick? Tearing down solid brick, joined or put on cinder blocks. So proponents of the new, you're not going to get the solid construction that you're tearing down. Plaster is superior to drywall. Gypsum board. Look at that. Glad the wind is blowing from the west and not the southwest. I would not want to be breathing that in. I would have been wearing a mask if I was in that cab. You don't know if there's asbestos in there, lead. That's the drawback to old construction, is the asbestos and the lead. But then that can be rectified. You don't have to tear down the entire house. Uh-oh. So he's going to drag the dumpster. not. There he goes. Now he's got to fill it up. So I guess any home security that you have, if somebody's got one of those contraptions, home security is going to do squat. That thing will rip into anything. Looks like carpet. So I wonder how long it will take for them to start the new home that they're going to put up. But I'd like to kind of follow up, see if I'm around, if I can get footage of the framing and all that stuff to compare and contrast the materials. But I can almost guarantee that OSB will be used. They don't even use plywood anymore. If they will use plywood on the new construction, then that will be good, because plywood is so much better. It can get wet, it can dry out, but OSB can't. You bet those 2x4s are just solid as a rock. All that wood that going to the landfill. And I hope that somebody got that wrought iron stair railing that they had in the house. So I think somebody was inquiring about it, but it was still there when I picked up a couple things. It was a nice piece of wrought iron that kind of went around the landing, then down the stairway. Now the winds are kind of picking up. stopped raining. So I left for a few minutes. Which is fine. I hope they don't. Looks like they're gonna kill all the foliage. That is sad. Very sad. Kind of unnecessary. See if that Japanese maple is still around by the end of the day. What if he's gonna knock it down? Is he gonna tear the chimney down? That's the question. Or will that chimney be standing tonight? We'll find out. Remains to be seen. I think this house was around 3,000 square feet. I'll have to check. So it's not a small house by any means. And I wonder if they have it arranged with the salvage company to get that chimney brick specifically.